Good morning, fifth graders. Welcome to another week. We just have, let's see, 10 more days altogether of videos. So we're getting down to the wire here. So again, let's finish strong. I hope you all had a great weekend, even though it was nice and then it got rainy and then it was nice again. And now it's thunderstorming. So I hope you had a good weekend regardless. All right, so what I'd like to do is if you will go to page, let me see if I can move this, go to page 30 in your packet, and this one's just a lot of listening and learning today. Tomorrow you'll do some writing, but we're going to listen and learn, and if you'll follow along with me, what we're going to talk about today is citing textual evidence. And you've heard your teacher say it over and over about how you have to find it in the text, in the reading passages. So it says citing textual evidence to support statements is an essential skill that students are expected to demonstrate in their writing and in class discussion. This skill reflects close reading, which is central to understanding both literary and informational text. Yet students often struggle with the difference between paraphrasing and direct quotation, and they tend to rely on opinions or background knowledge instead of textual evidence to support statements about a text. All right, what I want to show you is the difference between a direct quotation from a text and paraphrasing it. So for a minute, we're going to go back up to where we were talking about right here, the coral reefs. And let's just take a look at paragraph 4 for a minute. So I'm just going to read it first. It says, another threat to coral reefs is pollution. Acid rain, oil spills, and chemical fertilizers cause water pollution. These substances poison coral polyps and other animals that live in coral reefs. Coral polyps can only grow in very clear, clean water with plenty of sunlight. The algae that live in coral polyps use sunlight to make food, but water pollution makes the water cloudy. There is less sunlight, so algae cannot make food for the coral polyps. All right, if I'm going to cite evidence straight from the passage, I would say the author said the algae that live in coral polyps use sunlight to make food. Okay, that's if I'm directly quoting it, a direct quotation from the passage and from the author. Now, another thing is called paraphrasing it. And that is, you can say it and put it in different words, your own words. And you could simply have said, algae need clean water in order to make food. Now, that exact quote was not in here, but it did tell you that they need clean water. So you see, you paraphrased it. You took a few things out that was correct, but you didn't exactly use the words that the author said. When you use the exact words that the author says, you have to give credit to the author and say the author said, and then you write out the direct quotation. I hope that's clear, the difference between paraphrasing, in other words, taking information from the passage but putting it in your own words, and direct quotation where you have to quote the author exactly. All right, so let's go back here. And that's what we talked about here. If you're using a direct quotation, you have to copy the author's exact words and place them in quotation marks. Okay, so here's an example from this story, but I just showed you one from our passage, but it says, and you'll notice it's in quotation marks, spring makers hand forged, heated and pounded into shape, and polished steel clock springs. So those were the exact words in this story. So you have to put it in direct quotations. Now, when you paraphrase, you restate the author's words in your own words. So here, if you were paraphrasing this, you would say the spring makers made and polished all of the springs for the clocks by hand. Okay? All right. So that's the difference between paraphrasing and using direct quotation. All right. All right, let's look down here now. And I know your teachers are also going through this. I'm not sure what examples they're using, but it's okay to always have more than one example. All right, so here it says when citing textual evidence, students can struggle to identify key ideas and details from a text that actually support a statement. All right, so they give this example. Here's a statement from Hatchet. It is terrifying for a child to suddenly be all alone with no one to help. Okay, so when you want to find evidence to support that statement, let's take a look at which ones of these do. Brian cried endlessly in the corner of a dark cave. Well, that came from the text, and that supports the statement of a child being terrified and all alone. So that one looks pretty good. Let's look at this one. Brian had never tasted anything as good as that first bite. Well, that's in the text, but it doesn't tell anything to support this. It is terrifying for a child to suddenly be all alone with no one to help. So that's not one for supporting the statement, the text evidence, okay? All right, Brian had to figure out how to survive. Okay, now that's true that would support this, but that wasn't in the text, okay? So you have to find something that's in the text and tells more to explain this. So it would be this one, this first one here. Okay, so just to make sure that you understand, it has to be in the text and it has to tell more to explain. Okay? All right, let's see. Let's move on down here and see what else they've got for us. All right, so okay, well, this says organize students into pairs. This we really can't do for this lesson because we're not in class. So just, I hope you understand the difference between paraphrasing and directly quoting text evidence, because we're going to use those two things tomorrow when we do this textual evidence chart. And also knowing how to, when you have a piece of text evidence, supporting that from the text and having it tell more about what you've chosen to talk about. All right, that will be it for today. Oh, no, wait. Oops, sorry. We've got writing. Hold on one second. All right, your writing lesson today is journal entry 5. So it says helpers are all around us. They might be the police, doctors, or grocery store workers. Helpers can also be anyone who goes out of their way to help others. Think about ways you can be a helper right now. You may already be doing these things. Write to tell how you can be a helper and how it will make a difference. Well, considering the circumstances we're under right now, I bet you can think of a lot of ways that you can be a helper. Think about whether it's helping a family or a neighbor, a sibling, and give some details and write complete sentences and edit your work to make sure that you've got correct spelling and punctuation, capitalization. All right, guys, that will be it, and I will see you tomorrow.